One of my favorite plays this week, I like the Chicago Bears against the Colts. It's one of my favorite plays because I don't think we're quite being fair with Caleb Williams. I'm not saying this just because he's a USC guy, but I can't think of the last college quarterback that had these expectations. Now, you could say, well, what about Andrew Luck? But remember, Andrew Luck joined a talentless roster, so our expectations were not playoffs. And also, the Colts had made the playoffs 9 of 10 years before Andrew Luck got there. So it's a winning culture. Owner, front office. The Colts were a winning culture. And it was a talentless roster. And it's kind of a small market media. Caleb's different. It's a losing culture that he has to help turn around. All we heard all off season, myself included, is, man, look at all their talent. This is the most talented Bears I've ever had. So he enters a losing culture with a coach on the hot seat. They've never developed a quarterback in the history of the franchise in a division now that is easily, offensively, the best in football. Vikings, Lions, Packers, those are elite offensive personnel teams. Oh, yeah, let's throw them on Hard Knocks and Week 2 on Sunday Night Football. So Mark Sanchez was on our show yesterday on the pressure, the unique pressure Caleb is facing.
He's learning so much on the fly. Just imagine drinking through a fire hose. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff being thrown at him.
He's all about
I will credit him for his demeanor, though. I mean, sure, does he get upset? Does he, hang his head a little bit? Does he get frustrated? Absolutely. And he has every right to. But he's fighting like hell, man. And I admire that. I admire what he's going through. I know exactly what he's feeling. And it is really hard. These guys are smarter, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. And their whole existence is built on ruining your Sunday. So there's a lot flying at him. He's handling it, the very best he can.
I mean, if you go back, I wasn't around for John. I mean, I was around for John Elway, but there was no internet. I don't remember the expectations. He was great as a prospect. I remember Yankees. He was drafted or something with the Yankees, and I can remember that. And I remember his career, but I don't remember the expectations for Elway other than he was a great, best college prospect I can ever remember. But with Andrew Luck, he was going to, a solid winning culture. He was replacing a legend. They had no talent in the roster. They had a terrible O-line. We didn't have high expectations. The expectations here are really through the roof. He's the first superstar NIL quarterback. Bears got all this offensive talent. Big, loud, relentless media in Chicago. Lincoln Riley pointed out, which is probably the answer to solving his early mistakes.
Sometimes when you get into competitive situations, especially a new league, a new offense, new coaches around you, new supporting cast, there's going to be some growing pains, right? You're going to go through some tough moments, but you got to continue to go back to the basics, continue to improve, continue to lead. And most importantly, you can't let it affect your attitude, your mentality, the way you play, the way you practice. You just got to keep growing. And Caleb will. He's a fighter. He's going to continue to learn and grow.
I like the Bears this weekend. It's interesting. Greg Cosell, top of the hour. What's interesting is that I talked to a GM yesterday that said, man, Anthony Richardson's tape was bad. My staff just wrote on the screen that apparently Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast said Anthony Richardson was missing high school throws, like easy stuff. So we're all paying attention to Caleb Williams' struggles. They may have a much, much bigger issue. Chris Ballard on. If this doesn't work, Irsay's wildly impulsive, outspoken.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk about the Colts right now. But see, he has producers and people writing things on his screen for him. I don't got that. So you guys can't get mad at me if I mess up a name or two. Maybe one day I'll be able to have what Colin has. That'll be pretty cool. But yeah, no, listen, I really agree with what Colin is saying here. And I feel like people are going, because based off some of the content that I've already created about Caleb and with Colin, I'm seeing a lot of comments where people are saying like, Colin's being such a hypocrite. He's just saying whatever he wants. 1 minute he says Caleb's going to be great. The next minute he says he's awful. The next minute he says he's great, awful, this. And I think Colin has been pretty consistent I think Colin was the one mistake that Colin made, and it wasn't a mistake. It was just more of like an overlook. He thought that the beginning of the schedule for the Bears was like really easy, that they were like layups and toss-ups. And I did not really see it that way. I tried to like find how we could see it that way, and I didn't. And in fact, a lot of fans got mad at me when I kind of went through it. And I think that was one of the one mistakes. But Colin has been very much like incredibly high, incredibly hyped on Caleb and the Chicago Bears. But he was not the one saying that they're going to go to the Super Bowl, that they're going to go rip off, win 13 games, and that Caleb's going to be just this true contender from day one. He has not said that. He is absolutely hyping up Caleb Williams, and understandably, and from my viewpoint, rightfully so. But I think people are not really giving him the benefit of the doubt. Colin also changes his mind based on, how things are unfolding. So yeah, you better believe that if Caleb Williams, his first 2 games, was balling out, doesn't even have to be balling out, just looking better, right? Going 20 for 30 with 200 plus yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 games and 1 interception. Like, yeah, there would be more excitement, be more energy behind all of it. But when you're seeing what you're seeing, you now reevaluate, you readjust your expectations, you update, your thoughts and feelings about something, right? And it seems like people are very much against that, especially when talking about a rookie quarterback. I've seen this with pretty much all the rookie quarterbacks, because I make no mistake about it, and I don't hide it at all. Like, I'm high on really actually all 4 of the main, maybe 5 of the quarterbacks who were drafted, and about what they can and can't achieve. And I think one of the biggest things, and ironically, this wasn't even really part of the take, but it was with regards to Anthony Richardson, is the big thing to me is with the Chicago Bears and, with Caleb Williams, is that he continues to be able to hit those layups, right? Getting those layups. If Caleb starts to consistently miss and at a high volume miss those regular layups, those high school throws, I guess as Greg Cosell put it, then yes, that is an uncomfortable place to be in. That's when you start to say, uh-oh, did we make a mistake? Is there something going on in his head? Like, what's going on? Is the pressure getting to him, right? That's when you can start to get uncomfortable. But that I'm not seeing that from Caleb Williams. I'm sure you could find a throw or 2 in the tape. And same thing with, say, like a Bo Nix. But for right now, considering how this is all unfolding, if Caleb Williams was as awful as some people are trying to like pounce on and use a slow start to kind of sell their point as, he would look even worse. Because you have to put it in context of, one, the teams that he's been playing, the team that he's on right now, the coaching staff, the expectations, what he's supposed to do great in the NFL versus what maybe he doesn't do so great. Essentially just his strengths and weaknesses as a whole as a quarterback. When you put it all in context, if he was really on the track to just being bad and being like, this was a disaster, this was the wrong draft pick, it would be even worse. It just would be. You wouldn't see the growth from week 1 to week 2. And we've already seen the growth from week 1 to week 2. We just have. Chris Collinsworth pointed it out in the broadcast. I mean, he was genuinely surprised. And he also called out, though, when Caleb made mistakes. He absolutely was like, yeah, that was a throw you got to hit. So I think Collinsworth gave some pretty honest, real-time commentary. That's why I love listening to the commentary during the games live, because it's live. It's in the moment. Sometimes, of course, when you look at the tape and you can find different things, and I think that's obviously incredibly important as well. But I think it's 2 different things that you're seeing. And sometimes in the moment, you get a more knee-jerk, natural response. And sometimes it's wrong because it's in the moment, right? So that's why I like to kind of juggle multiple perspectives in that. Because sometimes when you're looking at the tape also, it's very it's not in the flow of the game, so you don't get as great of a sense of like, well, what was the rhythm of the game at this point? Like, what were the emotions? What was the crowd like? How was this all unfolding? It's just, again, to me, it's trying to paint as clear of a picture as you can, and it's trying to get all angles. And there was like a great stretch, especially against the Texans, that Caleb felt in control, felt composed, was executing the offense. And it was being hampered by just like zero run game, right? Like just like nothing, and not being able to get some of these more layups, getting shorter third and first down conversions and stuff. Like it was something that they kind of kept running into. I remember in my notes, it was just like the run is stopping their drives right now, right? Like it's stopping their ability to like get a touchdown. And if you're asking to just have Caleb carry all of that in his second game as a rookie quarterback, it's just too tall of a task. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that someone said this, and it's not a bad comment. It's really not. I forget all the quarterbacks that he announced, but he said, C.J. Stroud played great rookie year. He goes, even Baker Mayfield played great his rookie year. He's like, it's concerning that when a quarterback like this is not playing great their rookie year. And I get it to a large degree of the sentiment of that comment, but it's just that just because one quarterback or one player was able to do one thing for a specific team at a specific time doesn't mean that now is like the gold standard, or that is a situation that if you're good, then you should be able to succeed as well. Because it's just completely different. It's a different NFL 5 years ago to this, to today. It's different coaches, different players, different skill sets. You're playing different levels of team, different quality of teams. Like everything is just different. There's no guarantee that if Baker Mayfield was drafted by the Chicago Bears his rookie year that he would be playing as well as maybe he did with Cleveland. You have no idea. If CJ Stroud was on this team, I don't know how good he would be right now. I have no idea. We have no idea. We can play that game, and I'm all for the mix and match things. Like I love the thought experiments and making up scenarios. I really do. So I don't mean to like say like we can't, because it can be fun, but in this situation we just can't say with confidence. We love to do that. Justin Herbert did this his rookie year. This guy did this his rookie year. Or Tom Brady didn't do this in his rookie year. Look what Patrick Mahomes did in his first year. Like we always do that, and it's like I just don't think it's completely fair, quite frankly, because we just don't know. It depends on the type of player, right? It's not hard to imagine that someone who's incredibly physically gifted, hypermobile, incredibly strong, that no matter what team they're in, they would have maybe been able to find a way, so to speak. But when you're going to be a lot more of a nuanced player, who Caleb Williams is, you are going to be at the mercy of many moving parts. And I just don't think that we have to just be so quick to kind of pile on, because even the question, confident Caleb will turn it around. This is just part of the business, right? That you play 2 games and they're not going great, and it's just like, so are you going to be great or not? Answer the question. Are you going to be a top quarterback in the NFL? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then my God, you are a disaster. You are an absolute and utter disaster. I mean, think about it. If Caleb just becomes the 20th best quarterback in the NFL, which is still a wild achievement when you really think about it, it would be a disaster. It would be an epic failure, and he would be ripped apart. And he would be at the list of people who they say, worst decisions in Chicago Bears history, right? And that's the level of expectations and what's at stake for Caleb Williams, right? Preseason, I even did a video about it where it was, I forget his name, the guy from Chicago who was like the radio personality, Danny Perkins or Danny Parkins, I forget. He's on, FS1's new show now, Breakfast Club, I think is what it's called, or Breakfast Brunch, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you guys know who I'm talking about. Him and Colin were having the conversation about, can Caleb be Michael Jordan, right? Like, he will be, if he gets this going, like he will be more famous than Michael Jordan. He'll be more popular because football is just obviously massively popular. So if you can take over a city like that, like it could just be insane. And I talked about that. I unpacked that, that whole conversation. And so those are the things that you're flirting with before you ever even step on a football field. And a lot of people were upset about it and saying you shouldn't even, bring this tough stuff up, because essentially look what's happening right now. And it's like, now you got egg on your face. And I don't see it that way. I think it's all just interesting conversations to be had. And ultimately, that's what I'm always trying to do, really. It's just have interesting conversations, right? Unpack various topics, figure out what's the truth, figure out what's maybe misleading, figure out what's just blatantly wrong. And I try not to swing in extremes. I don't want, before the season starts, I say, Caleb Williams is going to be a star. He's going to be great. Week 1 happens and I go, oh my God, he is not looking good. He is not who I thought he was. things are going bad for him. Oh no. And also, I don't want it to be where I think he's great and then he's clearly showing me that he's not good. And because I said that I thought he was going to be great, I keep just saying, he's going to be great. He's going to be great. He's going to be great, right? Like, you want to always update your viewpoint. Really, the biggest thing that I'm seeing here with Caleb Williams is that people are just getting too confident in their conclusions about something. And that's why I like what Mark Sanchez had to say, where he was just like, there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on for Caleb, but he's trying to learn a lot of stuff right now. There's just a lot going on. And I think it's fair to kind of have some patience, give him the grace, and honestly give him the benefit of the doubt, right? I feel as though he earned that. And like I said, if he looked worse from week 1 to week 2, then you could start to get a little bit more uncomfortable. But I do think he looked better. He did look more comfortable. And the game against the Colts, and this will be, I'll wrap it up here. The game against the Colts isn't interesting. I feel like, I forget what Colin refers to these types of games, like the gotcha games or whatever. I don't really know betting lingo, I'll be honest. Trap games, whatever it is. But, although the trap might be more from a player perspective. But so, this to me is a kind of a weird game, because since Anthony Richardson is so inconsistent, you don't know what you're going to get from him, right? He might miss those high school plays, or he might literally turn into an Avenger, right? I mean, like, we saw what he did against the Texans. I mean, like, he made some of the most unbelievable plays I've ever seen in my entire life watching football. So you don't know what you're going to get. So yeah, he could absolutely, without a doubt, ball out even against a great Chicago Bears defense. So it's like, I don't know. You could make the argument though that the Colts don't really have that great of a defense. Malik Willis was able to make some noise and stuff like as well. We don't have to focus too much on the Texans because that's CJ Stroud, so of course he's going to look good, but no one really thought Malik Willis was going to be able to do much of anything. So it is, to me, and I think I said this in a previous video, that to me though, this will be an interesting barometer and comparison to see how Caleb Williams does against the Colts, because we could see what Malik Willis did against the Colts, right? We have a straight frame of reference of a quarterback who was obviously not very high received in recent times. He was kind of a little bit higher going into the draft. Colin was like really excited about him, and because he like picked up trash or helped a homeless person, and Colin was like, that guy's going to work. He's going to work. He's going to work. And it didn't necessarily pan out for him that way, but his story is not finished either. But we did get to see what a young, pretty green quarterback could do against the Colts. And so now here we have Caleb Williams, who's supposed to be significantly better than Malik Willis. And I'm just curious to see how comfortable he looks, because if he doesn't, if he continues to look uncomfortable or continues to not really kind of start to generate some success, you're going to have to really dig in why. Right? You're going to have to really try to figure out, is this Caleb Williams? Is this because he lacks the necessary skill set? Or is this coaching? Is this Shane Waldron? Is this too many deficits around the team? Because the one thing that I really noticed in that Packers game with Malik Willis going up against the Colts was that the players helped Malik. They helped him. The receivers, anyone who was catching a pass, they didn't hurt him. They didn't drop anything. They made the job easier for their quarterback, for their backup quarterback. You can't make the job harder for your backup quarterback. You're just not going to win games that way. You need to rely on the real guys to get the job done and to help elevate the backup quarterback. And that is what the Packers were able to do. And again, Matt LaFleur doing a masterclass of how to win a game with a backup quarterback. And so that's what I want to see the Chicago Bears do with Caleb Williams. It's like, listen, we kind of just saw what Matt LaFleur and the Packers were able to do with Malik Willis. Like, let's take that. Let's learn from that. Let's understand that. We're going to use our gritty defense. We're going to take advantage of all the weaknesses and liabilities that Anthony Richardson has to offer. And we're going to get Caleb comfortable. We're going to get him comfortable, right? We're going to get some momentum. We're not going to rely on him incredibly heavy. Like, maybe we will almost treat him like a backup quarterback. We just got to get something going, get some momentum going, some positivity going. And it should be enough to win outside of Anthony Richardson, like I said, turning into a superhuman. That's the only way. If you still lose this game, or if Caleb doesn't look good and Anthony Richardson didn't become a superhuman, then I would find that concerning. I really would. So this is going to be a really interesting game for me to kind of to watch and see how it unfolds, to see what actually happens and why. It's one of the more interesting games, and I feel like people might not realize like how interesting this game honestly is because of what we were able to see the Packers and Malik Willis do against the Colts. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What are you guys all thinking? Are you confident that Caleb will turn it around? And do you think, we're getting to the point where like he's got to start to produce more before people really kind of start to panic? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.